Hey everybody, Tony here with nothing but car reviews and dark chocolate music. Just wanted to give you all a quick 25,000 mile review on my Mustang Mach-E California Route 1. Just gonna go over what I've loved and hated about the vehicle. Actually thinking about trading it in today, so I wanted to do this anyway. But I just hit, I think, 25,500 miles. So I'm just gonna go over a few of the loves and hates I have about the car. But all in all, been a really great car for the most part. And I'm definitely gonna miss it when I do finally trade it in. But I'm gonna just dive right into it. Start off with these tires here. I just had these replaced about 2,000 miles ago. You can kind of see the wear on the front, and then compare that to the wear on the back. So my original, I think they were Michelin tires that came on the vehicle, got me about 21,000 miles, 22,000 miles, and they started balding on the outside. A lot of that has to do with how I drive it, but it's pretty standard for EVs. And then in terms of the paint quality, I'll show you. I think somebody might have keyed it right there or something, or maybe scratched it walking past, but it is very hard to get this front end here clean. And it's dirty now, but if you look like here, that's like a scratch. And there was a snowstorm about 6 months ago that just destroyed my front end for the most part. You can probably see it better over here. Like that's a huge gash. A huge gash there. Huge gash there. That's all rock chips. So, and then if you look at the hood here, that's more, I guess those are actual chips. Those ones I showed earlier were more of gashes. But just really thin paint. I wish I would have PPF'd it when I got it, but I didn't, of course, and then I had a terrible experience. But overall here on the sides, it's held up pretty well for the most part. I'm trying to think, I don't think there are any chips on this side. But the paint quality, I definitely give it probably about a 7. I mean, it's a beautiful color, but just really thin. And there are actually places, I think like right here. Yeah, it's a paint chip there. You can see that. But let me show you the trunk space. So I had to put some subs in here because the sound quality was just probably like a 4 out of 10, honestly. And then this one being a California Route 1, it doesn't have the power hatch, but I actually don't mind it at all. I wouldn't pay extra for that. And then this one has the aero caps, which is actually a pretty nice wheel underneath that. I think it's like an 18-inch black aluminum wheel. So these pop out, and then this right here is what's actually left. But let me tell you about the back seat room. I have a car seat here, but it's been really good with having a baby. Really good space back here because these seats are so sleek, I guess is the best way to put it. I do wish I would have tinted the roof and then the windows more because heat does tend to get in there, but the AC is really good. And you can see, you can't really see any wear in this seat. And like I said, I've driven it 25,000 miles and I see no wear in this faux leather here. But to the radio, I've only had a few instances where I've had to reset it while driving. I think you have to hold down the volume and then hold down the track forward button or whatever, these two here, and then it'll reset the screen. Because a lot of the times it just didn't want to connect my wireless Apple CarPlay. But other than that, the AC, it tends to, sometimes it'll get really, it'll either go all the way down or all the way up, even if I had it set to like mid-level blow speed, but it's whatever. There's a backup camera. Haven't had any trouble with that. And like I said, the Apple CarPlay is really intuitive, and the screen itself has been very easy to use. There have been a few updates here and there, but for the most part, no big changes with it. And then I did have the propulsion sound on, but when I put my subs in, it was really loud because the propulsion comes through the speakers, through the actual radio, so I had to cut that off. But other than that, since I put the subs in, no issues. And I really did that just because, like I said, the sound system wasn't the greatest, and I was actually going to replace the door speakers. If I keep it, I'll probably do that, but if I trade it in, I will probably not do that because I'll be doing that today. Like I said, this tends to get hot, but it doesn't intrude that much on the cabin when you have the AC going. Now, if it's 100 degrees out, you might feel it a little bit. Now, onto these floor mats here. These are like a $150, $200 option, I think. Having the all-weather floor mats, they've been a really helpful option to have because I was in a lot of cement and I tend to get in a lot of dirt and all that. You can just take these out, very easy to clean. But if I'd had this mess here on carpet, it would not look good. And then here, some issue I've had for about 1,500 miles was ever since the update, they've started trying to dial back so that I think there's a recall on it because the battery coils or something get too hot. So I've not been getting full power out of the vehicle for, like I said, 1,500 miles. So that's been kind of a drag. But before I take it for a drive, let me just show you the back seat and my likes and dislikes about that. So I'm 6'3" and I fit back here pretty well, and my partner tends to ride with a baby back here, and you know, we go an hour, hour and a half one-way trips, little to no issue. It's just, of course, a bouncy ride with it being an EV, but I mean, for the car, it's really, really good room back here for it to be pretty much a station wagon. Now, I will say that these don't tend to work as well. So she tends to get hot back here because it's just very little air coming out of here, and they're so small. But, and it's very low to the ground. If they were just probably about 3 inches higher, that wouldn't be an issue. But all the air, like the seat here is cold, but that's as high as they go. And then you're still only blowing here as opposed to blowing out into the open. So just a minor design flaw in my opinion. And then, like I said, the seats just held up really well. Very easy to clean with this ActiveX. But now I'm just gonna go ahead and take it on a test drive and let you all know the driving loves and hates as well. So to start with, we had an update from Ford that addressed the one pedal drive and just how, I guess, non-linear it was when letting off the throttle and just coasting with the brake. It was just kind of in and out, and they fixed that. But the funny thing is, I've gotten used to the way that it's been because that update's only been out for about a month, I think. But it really is a lot better than it was. It's just very linear. Makes a lot of sense, really. Now, one disappointment I've had is I still have not, I think Ford offered me a free year of Blue Cruise, and they were saying the updates were gonna come over the air and all of that. I still haven't gotten that, but the co-pilot, it's probably, for me, and I've driven a lot of vehicles, I'd put this over Nissan, over Toyota, The only thing that's gonna touch it is Super Cruise and autopilot, and Super Cruise doesn't really touch it because I can't do this in the city or on a 4-lane state highway. I have to be on an interstate. But of course, GM said they're gonna start adding a bunch of 4-lane highways. So if they do that, I'll probably be in the market next year for the Hummer EV I have reserved, because I have a 3X reserved, but who knows when those are coming in. So I'm just gonna try and get my tax credit this year on an EV or a plug-in hybrid. But back to the system, it's just a really, really intuitive, great system. You can use it just about anywhere, like autopilot. Of course, you want to keep an eye on it because it'll just go out of nowhere. But for the most part, very solid driving system here, or driver aid system. But going back to this here, that's been really annoying. It started because the service light, I think I nailed it like twice in a row and the light came on. And then I cut the car off overnight. I think it came off. Then that same day, I got the update download on it or whatever that messed with the brake feel and all that. And then I nailed it again and the service light came on and it has not gone off since. So I drive it unbridled, but when I put my foot into it, I'm not getting near the torque that I was getting. Because even though this is a rear-wheel drive with a bigger battery, it still scoots. And it just feels, it drives like a Nissan Leaf right now, and I don't like that. But because of the chip shortage and everybody's keeping their cars and blah, 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 not to mention everyone's trying to sell their courtesy cars that they would have normally had in inventory, I can't get my vehicle in, and the closest station that works on EVs is over an hour away. So I've been driving this like this for about a month, and it's been terrible, but I still love the car. It's just annoying. But that's what happens when you get something fresh that doesn't have a lot of, I guess, a lot of miles on it, as opposed to getting one 2 or 3 years down the road and it's got all the updates and they've learned from it, you know what works, what doesn't. Ford's still kind of learning these cars with the rest of us. And then the overall driving feel for me, after having it 25,000 miles, I still absolutely love it. It's been a really, really great driving vehicle, all in all. I just don't want, my girl has an Infiniti QX50, like a 2019. I hate driving that car. It's just really, I hate CVTs anyway, but this just with a 1-speed and just having the instant torque, it's just, it drives so well. And I really like how it drives better than my Tesla Model 3. I had a Standard Range Plus 2019, and even though that was much faster than this, it's still, this car just drives like a Mustang. And a lot of people don't like that it has a name, but I can tell you after driving it for as long as I have, it deserves a name. And then another issue, for me at least, is where it had that service light on earlier. It had like the box that says service vehicle, whatever. If you have 2 or 3 messages at once, one will tend to get in the way of the other when you have to actually click it out by hitting OK here. And I remember it said something, and then I was in the car wash at the same time, and I could not see what it said behind it, and it was telling me to hit the L because to put these in neutral, you have to put in neutral and then hit the L to put in like a 30-minute tow mode or something. And when I did that, whatever was going on there, I couldn't see that. So I was in the car wash, basically in park, not knowing what was going on. And they had to tell me at the end, hey, you weren't in neutral. And then I clicked here, and then I said, oh, well, it was hidden behind something else over here. So I wish they'd fix that. I don't know how you would, maybe put it on the screen or something, but that's only gotten in my way 2 or 3 times where it got a little somewhat dangerous. And then the power seat, really, really nice. I will say the memory seat it doesn't let you do it while you're driving. I don't like that, but I don't know why they do that in cars these days. Everything's about safety, and half this stuff is really not that safe. But whatever. And this activex has been, like, the steering wheel, no fading or defects in it whatsoever. So I really like that. The interior quality has actually been really, really good. I do wish I would have had the heated steering wheel and the heated seats, because when it is cold out, I tend to have the heat on a lot more, which drains the battery life, because I need the air blowing at my hands here. But if I had the heated steering wheel, I wouldn't need it as much, and that would probably help my range. I'm trying to think what else has been an issue, but really, I had to really dig for the complaints I've had about this car, other than, of course, the service light. But it's had no problems, no issues whatsoever. I will say the tires I had, the Michelin, I think they were the MXM Premises or whatever that came on the car, lasted 20,000 miles, didn't have a flat. And in my Tesla, I literally had all 4 of those tires flat within 20,000 miles. So I put run flats on that. And when I got this car and the tires were bad after 22,000 miles, I just replaced those with run flats as well, because kind of scarred from the Tesla experience. And then the blind spot, all the safety, the co-pilot, like I said, the co-pilot 360, really good system. The blind spot monitors are very accurate. And then having this front camera here, because this is so low to the ground, it's very easy to scrape the front bumper. So having that front camera when you're pulling in is really nice. Keeps you from curbing the bumper. And then the backup assist is really nice, very accurate. If a car's coming from that way and I'm backing up, it'll let me know. And of course, vice versa from the left side. But overall, just like I said, very little complaints about this car after having it for 25,000 miles. And I've done a lot of highway driving on it, but the range has been really good, and I tend to drive about 80 miles per hour. And then on top of that, just the power, before this light came on, the power is just really, really phenomenal. And of course, like I said, this is just a single motor. And the one thing I will say, pay the extra for the red here. This red really is, it's a beautiful color. I was skeptical about it at first, but this is the only one I could find. I had to drive like 300, 400 miles to get this one. But the red is so great, and it gets all the looks, I'm telling you. Especially here, I live in a small town in Middle Tennessee, and this is really the only one of these out there, especially in this kind of color. And I just get head turns all day, every day. But back to the range, really good range with this. This one's rated for 305. I definitely could see you getting that. Me personally, I get about 260, 270. But, I mean, I drive this at very high speeds and around mountains and changing terrains. But just where you should probably have this at 65, 70 miles per hour, if that, to maximize range. I usually do around 80, depending on where I'm going. And that definitely does take a dip into your range. And I also drive an unbridled pretty much all the time, so hard acceleration will diminish your range as well. But really, no, I'm trying to think of any other faults. Other than that service light, I haven't had any issues with this car that I can think of. I'm trying to think of something to look out for, but really it's just the tires. But with any EV, you have to look out for that. And like I said, I take this thing out of corners fast. I do a lot of pulls with it. And I think these tires, they're like top of the line Pirellis, run flats, summer tires. Ran me about 1,500 bucks. Of course, you can go a cheaper route if you want to. But, okay, that's another thing. In the rain, with this one being, I mean, it doesn't really matter, it's rear wheel drive, but when the tires get bald, this thing does slide quite a bit. But the traction control is very good at controlling your car in general. It's not like a lot of the Mustangs you see in those videos where they're wiping out crowds and all that. Like if you take this around a corner or do something crazy with it and the traction control's on, it's gonna make sure that you don't wipe out for the most part. I haven't pushed it to its limits, but a few times that I've pushed it pretty hard, it made sure that it did what it was supposed to do. So with this being a Mustang, you'd think it'd be very difficult to drive, but it's very, of course with it being a low center of gravity and all of that, that helps, but it's just really, really nimble. Very little body roll. And with it being a Mustang, when you're pushing it like that, you can feel everything, and I really like that. The numbest part is probably the steering, but you can feel the road in a good way. And the steering definitely is not numb, but I mean, it's not a sport car feel, but it's kind of close. Of course, your Mach-E GTs are gonna have a lot more of that feel to it, and those are still pretty numb comparatively to maybe a GT500 or something like that. But with all that being said, that pretty much sums it up, and that's just my 25,000 mile review on the Mustang Mach-E California Route 1. Y'all make sure you like, comment if you have any questions, and subscribe if you liked what you saw today. Otherwise, thank you all for watching. Have a good one.